Good morning. So today we are going to discuss about session 7, matrix method of structural analysis. I am Dr. Jyoti TK, Assistant Professor, Government Engineering College, Ramnagar. So today we are going to discuss relationship between global and element flexibility matrix and procedure of force method. So, what is the relationship between global flexibility matrix and element flexibility matrix? Let us assume that there are two forces. Let PE and P be the force matrix in element and global coordinate respectively. Let PE be the element force and whereas P is the global force matrix. So PE is related to P by linear transformation. So first we are going to divide the structure into small elements, and then we are going to write the element flexibility matrix for each element. Then we have to relate it to the force matrix of the global coordinates. So that is related with the help of a linear transformation. So therefore PE is equal to B into P. So you can notice here. So PE is equal to B into P, where B is, what is B? B is a transformation matrix. Let delta E and delta be the displacement matrix in the element and global coordinate respectively. So delta E is what? Delta E is the displacement in the element displacement matrix in the element coordinate, whereas delta is the displacement matrix in the global coordinate. So, how do I relate? Like similar to here, how the element force matrix is related to global force matrix. Similarly, here element displacement is related to global displacement with the help of this B. What is this B? This B is a transformation matrix. So, therefore, I can write delta is equal to delta E by B. Okay, let that be equation number 2. Now, based on principle of contradency, what I can write is delta is equal to B transpose of delta E. Instead of writing delta E by B, if I take the B upwards, so this is nothing but B transpose. So, B transpose into delta E divided by, instead of writing 1 by B, I can write it as B transpose into delta E. Right, so let that be equation number 3. We know that flexibility is what? Displacement per unit force. We know that what? Flexibility is equal to displacement per unit force. So therefore, what is displacement? Displacement is nothing but flexibility into unit force. Displacement is equal to flexibility into unit force. So moving on. Now, where F is what? F is global, capital F is what? Global flexibility matrix. Similarly, element coordinate is what? So instead of writing for element delta E is equal to Fe, that is flexibility matrix, element flexibility matrix and element force. So delta E is equal to Fe into Pe. We know that delta is equal to F into P, right? We know that delta is what? Global displacement is equal to global force, global flexibility matrix and global force matrix. So that is equal to, in place of we know that delta is equal to what? Delta is equal to, we also know that it is B transpose into delta E. Right. So therefore, F into P is equal to, in place of delta, what I can write? I can write B transpose. In place of delta E, I know that I can write it as element, element flexibility matrix Fe, then P, PE. That is element force matrix. Right. So therefore from equation 1, what is equation 1? Equation 1, we know that it is connected, element flexibility matrix is connected to global flexibility, element force matrix is connected to global force with the help of this B. What is this B? Transformation matrix. Therefore, F into P is equal to B transpose into Fe, that is element flexibility matrix. Instead of Pe, what I can write? I can write B into P. That's what, B into P. So this P and this P get cancelled. Okay, so what is left now? Left is F is equal to B transpose into FE into B. What is F? Flexibility matrix. Global flexibility matrix is written as transpose of B. What is transpose of B? B is a transformation matrix. B is what? Transformation matrix. What is FE? FE is element flexibility matrix and B is again transformation matrix. So that is how the global flexibility matrix is related to element flexibility matrix with the help of transformation matrix. So next, once we know the relationship between global flexibility matrix and element flexibility matrix, we will continue with the what are the steps involved to solve the problem using force method or flexibility method. So step 1, determine the degree of static indeterminacy of the structure. So let me take this structure for an example. So here, this is a cantilever beam, right? So what is the degree of static indeterminacy? Degree of static indeterminacy is how many reactions will be there in case of cantilever beam. We know that it can withstand horizontal, vertical and moment. So available equilibrium equation 3 and required equilibrium equation is also 3. So it is statically determinate structure. So it is 0. So here identify the redundant that would be treated as unknown in the analysis. Now release a redundant one by one so that a statically determinate structure is obtained. Now if I take this hinge. So here also hinge, here also hinge. So it can withstand horizontal and vertical reactions. So altogether 4. So here what happens? Instead of 3, what I can write? I can write as 4 minus 3. So it is statically indeterminate by 1 degree. Okay. So I can remove any of the force to make it statically determinate. Right. So here, for example, if there is a propped cantilever beam, if it is a propped cantilever beam, either reactions or moments can be treated as an unknown redundant. By choosing the redundant, for example, if there is a propped cantilever, here I'll write, if there is a propped cantilever like this, okay, then 3 plus 1, right, equation is 4, but available equilibrium equation is only 3. So, how much is a degree of static indeterminacy? 1. So, one reaction I have to remove. So, what I'll remove? I'll remove a moment at fixed support. Fixed support. So, if I remove a moment, then it will become a simple support, right? It will become a simple support. So, now, for example, if there is a propped cantilever. So, in this problem, there is a propped cantilever. Either reactions or moments can be treated as unknown redundant. By choosing as a redundant, the propped cantilever beam can be converted into a cantilever beam, statically determinate by releasing the roller support. Right. So I can remove this reaction as a redundant, then it will become a cantilever beam, or else I can remove a moment at fixed support, then it will become a simply supported beam. So there are many ways you can select a redundant, whichever redundant you want. You can either select a moment as a redundant or a reaction as a redundant in this problem. So similarly, by choosing moment as a redundant reaction, if I take moment as a redundant reaction, then it will become a simple support. The indeterminate structure can be released into a determinate structure. That is, in the previous slide, I showed you that it will become a simply supported beam by turning the fixed support into a hinged one. If the redundant force is an internal one, if it is an internal hinge, then releasing the structure amounts to introducing discontinuity in the corresponding member. The compatibility conditions for the redundant internal forces are the continuity conditions. Okay, so the compatibility conditions are very much required. It should be continuous. It should not be discontinuous to solve the problem in flexibility method. So next step. In this step, you have to calculate the deflection due to redundant force. I'll assume that redundant force is equal to 1 kilonewton and you have to apply separately for each load. For example, if I have two redundant forces, one redundant force you have to apply a unit force of 1 kilonewton. So what is its effect on each support? I have to calculate. So how do I calculate that? With the help of force displacement relations. So deflection due to redundant force cannot be evaluated without knowing the magnitude of redundant force. Hence, apply a unit load in the direction of redundant force and determine the corresponding deflection. Since the method of superposition is valid, the deflections due to redundant force can be obtained by simply multiplying the unknown redundant. That's what with the deflection obtained from applying a unit value of the force. Flexibility influence coefficient that we had discussed in the previous session. What is that? You can, if I want to know what is a deflection at coordinate 1, so D1 is equal to F12 into redundant force. Let me take that redundant force as P. That is a unit force. How much? 1 kilonewton. So I can write it as F12 into P1. That is simply multiplying the unknown redundant force with the deflection obtained from applying a unit value. I am applying a unit value of how much here? 1 kilonewton. That I multiply with the flexibility influence coefficient to get the deflection due to this redundant force. So now calculate the total deflection due to applied loading and redundant force by applying the principle of superposition. This principle of superposition concept I had explained in the previous sessions. So this computed total deflection along the redundant action must be compatible with the actual boundary conditions of the original structure. For example, if in the original structure the deflection corresponding to the redundant reaction is 0, then the total deflection must be equal to 0. If there is more than one redundant force, then one could construct a set of equations with the redundant forces as unknowns and flexibility coefficients as coefficients of the equation. So the total number of equations equals the number of unknown redundant. So in step 4, in the last step, evaluate all other reactions and internal forces from the equilibrium equation. So if you solve one problem, you'll be able to understand it more clearly. So the method of superposition or the force method as discussed above is applied to any type of structures, whether it is a beam, frame or a truss. The procedure is same. It is applicable for all general type of loadings, whether it is a point load, UDL or a UVL. For all type of loading, the same procedure is applicable. Thank you.